A tired alien orphan fell asleep beside a human traveler. The outcome surprised all. The transit station on Valor Prime buzzed with activity. Hundreds of beings from dozens of worlds moved through the massive halls. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with soft inner light. Marcus Wells sat alone on a metal bench in a quiet corner. He was tired from 3 days of travel through space. Marcus was a human merchant. His job was simple. He carried supplies from one colony to another: food, medicine, tools, and sometimes books. He enjoyed the work because he met interesting people and saw beautiful planets. Today he was waiting for his next transport ship. It would arrive in 6 hours. He opened his food container and started eating. The meal was basic but warm: rice, vegetables, and some protein. As he ate, Marcus noticed something strange. A small figure was watching him from behind a support column 20 feet away. Marcus looked closer. It was a child. The child had soft blue fur covering their small body. Large golden eyes stared at Marcus with a mix of curiosity and fear. The child looked very thin. Their fur was dirty and messy. Marcus recognized the species. This was a Kalrani child. He had seen Kalrani adults at various stations before, but never children. The Kalrani kept to themselves mostly. They were known for being very private and careful around other species. The child's stomach made a loud growling sound. Marcus could hear it even from this distance. He smiled gently and held up a piece of his bread. He waved the child over with a friendly gesture. The child hesitated. Their small hands gripped the column tightly. Marcus continued eating, pretending not to watch too closely. He knew that sometimes the best way to help someone scared was to give them space to choose. After several minutes, the child took a small step forward, then another. Soon the child stood right in front of Marcus. Up close, Marcus could see how exhausted the child looked. Dark circles showed under those golden eyes. The child's hands shook slightly. Marcus offered the bread again. "Are you hungry?" he asked softly. The child reached out slowly and took the bread. They ate it quickly, almost desperately. Marcus gave them more food: some fruit, another piece of bread, and a protein bar. The child ate everything. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. The child did not answer. They just looked at Marcus with those big golden eyes. Marcus wondered if the child could understand human language. Many species had translator devices, but this child wore nothing except a dirty tunic. "My name is Marcus," he said, pointing to himself. "Marcus." But they sat down on the bench beside Marcus. Not too close, but close enough. Marcus went back to reviewing his travel documents on his data pad. He wanted to give the child time to feel safe. The station continued its busy rhythm around them. Aliens of all types walked past. Some glanced at Marcus and the child but kept moving. A few stared longer, their expressions unreadable. Marcus felt the child shift closer, then closer again. Soon the small blue-furred body was pressed against Marcus's side. The child's head rested against his arm. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked, looking down. The child's eyes were closed. Their breathing had become slow and deep. The child was completely asleep. Marcus froze. He did not want to wake the child. They looked so peaceful now, so different from the scared creature who had been hiding behind the column. But this was strange. Why would a child fall asleep beside a complete stranger? A tall alien with purple skin walked past. They stopped and stared at Marcus and the sleeping child. The alien's face showed shock. They quickly walked away, looking back several times. Marcus tried to stay still. His arm started to feel numb, but he did not move it. The child needed rest. That was clear. More aliens began to notice. A group of 3 Kalrani adults stopped about 30 feet away. They whispered to each other urgently. One pointed at Marcus. Another covered their mouth with their hand. All 3 looked extremely surprised. Marcus started to feel worried. Was something wrong? Should he wake the child? He looked around for station security. A security officer approached. She was a Thuron, tall with green scales and 4 arms. "Sir, is there a problem here?" she asked. "I don't think so," Marcus said quietly. "This child approached me and I gave them some food. Then they just fell asleep. I don't know who they belong to. And they never sleep near strangers. Never." They formed a loose circle around Marcus's bench but stayed far back. They whispered among themselves. Some looked upset, others looked amazed, all of them stared. Marcus sat very still. His arm was completely numb now. His back hurt from not moving. But the child slept on, breathing peacefully. An hour passed, then another. The crowd of Kelrani grew larger. Some brought chairs and sat down to watch. Others recorded video on their devices. Marcus wondered what was happening. Why was this such a big event? Finally, an elderly Kelrani female approached. She moved slowly, using a walking stick. Her fur was silver with age. Tears ran down her face as she looked at the sleeping child. She stopped a few feet from the bench. She spoke in the Kelrani language. Marcus did not understand the words, but he understood the emotion. This female knew the child. She pulled out a translator device and spoke again. "Human," she said, her voice shaking. "You have done something impossible today. Something that will change everything. His name is Pip." Then he just fell asleep. I did not want to disturb him. What does that mean? It is not something they can force or fake. Their body simply will not allow deep sleep unless their mind feels total trust. It is a survival instinct from our ancient past. That does not make sense. Pip survived, but his mother and father did not. The trauma broke something inside him. He only collapses from exhaustion for short periods. Then he wakes up frightened. I have tried everything to help him feel safe again, but nothing worked. I have been searching for him all day. I was so worried. And now I find him here, sleeping peacefully beside a human stranger. It is impossible, and yet it is happening. I know how grief can break you, how it changes everything. They feel emotions we try to hide. This human could be dangerous. Hoping. If that is a trick, then it is one I wish more people would use. If this human can help him heal, should we not allow it? The child's small hand reached out and grabbed Marcus's shirt. Even in sleep, Pip was holding on. "What can I do to help?" Marcus asked Elder Shira. "I have a transport to catch in a few hours, but if there is anything I can do before I leave." "Please stay until he wakes naturally. Real trust sleep can last several hours. It is what his body desperately needs. After months of exhaustion, he needs this healing rest." The Kelrani have a tradition. When someone brings peace to a troubled child, we call them Heartkeeper. It is a great honor. You would be the first non-Kelrani ever to receive this recognition. The title of Heartkeeper is sacred to our people. To give it to an outsider. But those walls have become a prison. We teach our children to fear everyone different. How can that be healthy? Not because he wanted something in return, just because it was the right thing to do. And that simple act of compassion broke through months of trauma. What does that tell us about our fears? Others still appeared uncomfortable. 3 more hours passed. Marcus sat without complaining, though his body ached. Elder Shira brought him water and food. Other Kelrani brought cushions to make him more comfortable. Slowly, their fear began to fade. Finally, Pip's golden eyes opened. He looked up at Marcus with a clarity that had been missing before. The child reached up and touched Marcus's face gently. Pip touched Marcus's face with his small, furry hand. The child's golden eyes were bright and clear. For the first time in months, Pip looked truly awake. "You smell like safe," Pip said softly through a small translator device hanging around his neck. Marcus felt tears form in his eyes. "I am glad you feel safe with me, Pip." She checked him carefully, touching his forehead and looking into his eyes. "How do you feel, little one?" "That is wonderful, my sweet child." They walked to a different section, one Marcus had never visited before. The entrance had a beautiful archway covered in bioluminescent plants that glowed soft blue and purple. "This is the Kalrani residential sector," Elder Shira explained. "We keep it private usually. Outsiders rarely come here." Kalrani families stopped their activities to stare as Marcus walked past. Children peeked out from doorways. Parents whispered to each other. Some looked curious. Others looked worried. Elder Shira's home was small but beautiful. Inside, everything was designed for Kalrani comfort. Low furniture, soft lighting, and walls covered in artwork. Marcus noticed many drawings. Most were made by children. "Pip loves to draw," Elder Shira said, noticing Marcus's interest. "He has not drawn anything since the accident, though." Pip sat beside Marcus and ate more food than Elder Shira had seen him eat in weeks. The child looked happy. He told Marcus about his favorite games and his pet crystal beetle that lived in a small tank by his bed. "Can you stay longer?" Pip asked Marcus. "I want to show you my drawings, and my beetle, and the garden where the singing flowers grow. I can reschedule my delivery." He ate regular meals. He smiled and laughed. Most importantly, he started drawing again. Pip showed Marcus his old drawings, pictures of his parents, his friends, and his favorite places on their home planet. Then he created new drawings. He drew Marcus sitting on the station bench. He drew them eating together. He drew what he called his new family. A few brave parents brought their children to meet Marcus. At first, the children were shy. They hid behind their parents and stared with wide eyes, but Marcus was patient. He told them stories about Earth. He showed them pictures of human children playing. He taught them simple games that needed no special equipment. Soon, young Kalrani were playing with Marcus in the community garden. They taught him their games too. One involved making patterns with colored stones. Another was like hide and seek, but with special rules about sounds. Marcus laughed and played with genuine joy. The adult Kalrani watched in amazement. Their children, who had been taught to be careful around other species, were running and playing with a human. The barriers their community had built for generations were crumbling, but not everyone was happy about this change. Counselor Thane gathered a small group of traditional Kalrani. They met in a community hall to discuss what they called the human problem. "We built these walls for good reasons. Safety matters more than curiosity. Maybe we need to ask ourselves what we are really afraid of." He sat in Elder Shira's garden after Pip went to bed. The singing flowers really did make soft musical sounds in the evening breeze. Elder Shira joined him. "You are troubled," she observed. "I need to continue my supply run," Marcus said. "Colonies depend on my deliveries." "But leaving Pip feels wrong. He is just starting to heal. What happens when I leave?" "Would you consider becoming Pip's guardian?" Elder Shira asked. "In Kalrani culture, a heartkeeper can become family. I am old and tired. I love Pip with all my heart, but raising a young child is difficult for me. He needs someone younger, someone who can give him the life he deserves." The idea seemed impossible. "I do not know what to say," Marcus finally whispered. "I travel constantly for work. I have no permanent home. How could I possibly give Pip the stable life he needs?" "I am not asking for an answer right now. Just think about it. Pip has bonded with you in a way that is truly rare. That bond could help him heal completely, but I understand this is a huge decision." He lay in the guest room thinking about everything. His life was simple and predictable. He moved from station to station, colony to colony. He had no responsibilities beyond his delivery contracts. Taking care of a child would change everything. But he also thought about Pip's smile, the way the child held his hand, the drawings Pip made showing them together. Marcus had been alone since losing his daughter. He had convinced himself that loneliness was easier than risking love again. Maybe he was wrong. The next morning, Marcus made his supply delivery departure. He promised Pip he would return soon. The child cried when Marcus left. Those tears stayed in Marcus's mind during the entire journey. At each colony he visited, Marcus found himself distracted. He would complete his deliveries and then spend hours researching. He looked up information about Kelrani children, their dietary needs, their education requirements, their cultural practices. He studied what it would take to become a legal guardian across species lines. He also made calls, first to his employer. "I need to request a transfer to permanent station work," Marcus said. "Something stable, maybe at a research colony or a settlement station." Why the sudden change? They needed someone to manage their supply warehouse. The job came with living quarters and access to good schools. Marcus accepted the position immediately. He also contacted Elder Shira regularly through video calls. She sent him recordings of Pip. In one video, Pip showed Marcus a new drawing. The child had drawn a house with two figures standing in front. One was small and blue, the other was taller. Both were holding hands and smiling. "This is our home," Pip said in the video. "For when you come back." Books about Kelrani culture. Even a translator device upgraded with better Kelrani language programs. When Marcus arrived at the transit station, he found something unexpected. The entire Kelrani community had gathered, not just a few dozen like before. Hundreds of them filled the arrival area. Elder Shira stood at the front with Pip. The child saw Marcus and broke free from his grandmother's hand. Pip ran through the crowd and jumped into Marcus's arms. "You came back," Pip cried happily. "I knew you would." "The Heartkeeper ceremony," Elder Shira explained. "If you still want to become Pip's guardian, we must make it official in the Kelrani tradition." "Do you want me to be your guardian, to take care of you and be your family?" "But I promise I will always try my best to make you happy and keep you safe." She spoke in the Kelrani language first, then switched to the common language so Marcus could understand. "Today we witness something that has never happened in our history," Elder Shira announced. "A human will become heartkeeper and guardian to a Kelrani child. This breaks the walls we have built around ourselves. It shows us that family is not about species or tradition. It is about love and choice. It symbolizes the trust given to you. Wear it with honor." The crowd became silent. Elder Shira looked concerned. Marcus tensed, preparing for opposition. Thane stood before Marcus. "I have opposed this union from the beginning. I said it was dangerous to trust outsiders, but I was wrong. I was a hypocrite. 40 years ago, I was injured badly in a station accident. A human medic saved my life. She worked for hours to repair my wounds. She showed me kindness when she could have left me to die. I wore this Heartkeeper crystal to honor her memory. But I never thanked her properly. I was too proud, too afraid of what other Kelrani would think. She died 5 years ago. I never got to tell her what her kindness meant to me." He removed his own Heartkeeper crystal and placed it in Marcus's hand. Tears ran down the older Kelrani's face. "I ask your forgiveness," Thane said. "Not just for opposing you, but for the cowardice I showed all those years ago. That human medic deserved better." "You deserve better. And most importantly, Pip deserves the happiness you can give him. That takes real courage." The ceremony ended with music and celebration. Kelrani children played with each other and showed Marcus their traditional dances. Food was shared freely. Even the Kelrani who had been suspicious before seemed to soften as they watched Pip's joy. 2 days later, Marcus and Pip left Valor Prime together. They traveled to the research colony that would become their new home. Elder Shira came with them to help with the transition. The colony was beautiful. Green fields surrounded the main settlement. Crystal-clear rivers ran through the landscape. The research station studied plants from hundreds of worlds. Gardens filled with alien flowers covered every available space. Their new home was modest but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living area, and a small yard. Marcus had prepared Pip's room carefully, soft lighting that Kelrani preferred, comfortable sleeping cushions, even a tank for Pip's crystal beetle which Elder Shira had brought from their old home. Pip explored everything with wide eyes. "This is really ours?" he asked. "This is really ours," Marcus confirmed. "Your room, my room, and all the space in between where we will build our life together." Pip had to adjust to a new school with mostly human children. They both made mistakes. There were difficult moments when Pip missed his parents terribly, or when Marcus felt overwhelmed by his new responsibilities. But there were more good moments than hard ones. Pip made friends at school quickly. He became a bridge between the Kelrani students and the human ones. His natural kindness helped other children understand that differences were not scary. Marcus attended parent meetings at the school. Other parents were curious about his cross-species family. Some asked questions. Marcus answered honestly, sharing both the joys and challenges. His openness helped other families consider adoption across species lines. At work, Marcus managed the supply warehouse efficiently. But he also started a new project. He created cultural exchange programs between the research colony and other settlements. He invited Kelrani families to visit and share their traditions. He encouraged humans to learn about Kelrani art and music. 6 months after the ceremony, Marcus received a message from Elder Shira. She had exciting news. The story of Marcus and Pip had spread far beyond Valar Prime. News networks across multiple systems had reported on their family. The Galactic Community Council had taken notice. "They want you and Pip to speak at the annual assembly," Elder Shira said through the video call. "This is a great honor. The assembly brings together leaders from every major civilization. I am just someone who loves a child." Pip wore traditional Kelrani ceremonial robes. Marcus wore simple human clothing. They held hands as they faced the enormous crowd. A tall diplomat introduced them. She explained their story briefly. How a tired orphan found peace with a stranger. How that simple moment grew into something that changed an entire community. Then it was Pip's turn to speak. The child stepped forward to a microphone adjusted to his small height. Marcus stayed close for support. "Hello," Pip said. His voice was small but clear. "My name is Pip. I want to tell you about my family." He was eating lunch. He looked kind. I was so tired. I sat beside him and fell asleep. When I woke up, I felt safe for the first time in months. That is what real family means. It means choosing to love someone and keep their heart safe. The choice to be kind to someone who is sad. The choice to trust someone different from you. The choice to build bridges instead of walls. You just have to be brave enough to try. Marcus spoke next. He kept his words simple. "Pip is wiser than most adults I know. He is right. Change begins with small acts of compassion. One person helping another. One heart trusting another. These small moments create ripples that spread across the stars. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.